Hi guys, this is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, a connected dot, an epiphany, a mind explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of this video in the description. And if you want to check out my website, alleycatcreations211.com, I have the new sort of pyramids that have bigger gems inside. I got regular pyramids loaded with gems. Hearts. It's very thick. Skulls with gems. The floral ones are on the bottom. alleycatcreations211.com is where you can check out my portfolio. I got the oil paintings, sculptural paintings, and all that fun stuff. And I do want to give my thanks to Charlene. She made a bunch of these, or had a bunch of these, that she did for my classroom. The kids are going to go bananas over these. Penguins, by the way. They're crocheted. I'm so excited, and I really want to thank her. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate it. I know the kids are gonna love those, and Amish mindset working at its best. So thank you. And to Scott, thank you so much for the materials that you sent me. It helps my teacher, myself, creatively as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you for everybody who's showing up with fidgets and just help for my classroom, because when you're not funded or given the funds to support children and where they're at, especially special ed children on the spectrum, and a lot of those tools are very expensive. It's the little things like that that can make a kid's world a whole new one. And for me, it helps me not come home so exhausted of picking kids up all day and holding them and bear hugging them because they want to bite the living daylights out of you or pull on your jugular. I have one of those. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Lastly, Hurricane Helene just happened. And with that, catastrophe has happened, not just to Florida, to Georgia, to South and North Carolina, and to Tennessee with the dam failure. I am trying to figure out how I can coordinate, or other people can help me coordinate, or just figure out what is needed and what address I can use to mail things to. Amish mindset works in many different ways. If you're home, you're not, you're like me in a financial pinch, can't afford to feed yourself, but you want to help, and you have clothes and stuff you want to donate, but a lot of places aren't really given the help that you send. But I rather mail it to somebody who can do what it needs to get done to who it needs to serve, like that. I rather do it that way. So if there's anybody that's been affected, that knows other people that's been affected, have family that's been affected, that there are a bunch of us thinking about how us that have not been affected, how we can get supplies down south. I know many, many avenues have been explored with storm chasers and stuff of that nature. They're already down there. They're helping as much as they can. And they're really just taking financial funds so they can get to the store to buy the objects that people need. But for us that don't have that financial means to support in those ways, clearing out our houses, what can I donate? I'm looking for people who have down south close to the areas that are willing to help how things get shipped, because I know there's a bunch of places that is closed off to anybody, and a lot of things are impassable right now. So trying to coordinate that. If you know anybody with an address that is willing to help receive some of the items to distribute out down south, please let me know. I'm trying to coordinate on my end, trying to get other people on board with figuring this out so people are receiving the help that they need or the items that they might need later down the road. This is how we help each other and come into unity consciousness. It's a test. Are you being served well? Message of Aquaria. This chapter, we finished Lucifer. Please go back and listen to those two because it's just brilliant work. Mars. I know, left field. Mars. I'm going to read about Mars today. Don't mind this. It is rainy and nasty out, and I had to go out and actually pick up the box to get these. It was sent to a place in Gary. I had to find. It took me forever, and it was downpouring when I got out of the car. I didn't have a thing with the hood, so my hair was all nastified, but don't mind that. Mars. Quote, the globe, propelled onward by the spirit of the earth and his six assistants, gets all its vital forces, life and powers through the medium of the seven planetary Dianes from the spirit of the sun. They are his messengers of light and life. As if we weren't reading this already on this channel, the secret doctrine Blavatsky. Innocence cannot be virtue, nor simplicity merit. Man is only that which he has conquered. End quote. Prophecy of the Zodiac. Please go check out. Blavatsky is not my easiest book that I read, that I butcher too, but there is some juicy gems in that book, and I honestly will say, please read it. Or listen to me read it and just be honestly nice about it. In the beginning, the study of the planet Mars, or in fact any other planet, it must be understood that it is not the physical planet known to astronomers and physical science, but the spiritual ruler whose abode or seat or whose force is focused in the planet to which we refer. As we have explained elsewhere, the seven sacred planets of this system, each the abode of one of the seven spirits of God, which are before his throne. This is made very plain in the revelation of St. John, where in his opening address he says, grace be unto you and peace from him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the seven spirits which are before his throne. Why should him which is and which was and which is to come, the Lord of life, include the seven spirits if they were not an essential part of the manifestation of the one God? It's a good question. We therefore allude to the seven spirits or planetary deities in the universality accepted terminology of the ancients as the administrators of God's decree, as the projectors of God's attributes or the manifestors of the divine plan. The same Elohim who said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, embodying all the planetary forces of this system. The ancient Syrians and Chaldeans defined the planetary or world rulers thus: one, the earth; The lowest subluminary is watched over by angels of the first or lower order. 2, Mercury is ruled by archangels. 3, Venus by principalities. 4, the sun, the domain of the highest and mightiest gods of our system, by the solar gods. 5, Mars by virtues. 6, Jupiter or Bel by dominions. 7, Saturn by thrones. The ancients had in their creel of gods 7 chief mystery gods, whose leader was exoterically the visible sun, or what I would say the logos. They're also called the 7 eyes of the Lord by the early Christian writers. These 7 great spirits also rule the 7-fold powers of nature, the forces of the universe, evolving nature through 7 tones, called the 7 creative notes of the cosmic scale, and through the 7 color rays. Through Lotus? I don't know his name. An early church father, we learned that Marcus, a Pythagorean, rather than a Christian Gnostic and a Kabbalist, most certainly had received in mysterious revelation the 7 heavens, angels of the planets, surrounded each one vowel, which all combined together formed a single doxology, the sound whereof being carried down from the 7 heavens to earth becomes a creator and a parent of all things that be on earth. Thus, the ancients never considered the planets in any other light than as the abodes of deities. Although modern thought, to the contrary, they were fully aware of 7 physical globes connected with the cosmogony of our solar system. Among the ancient Egyptians, Mars was recognized under the name of Ortez, and was worshipped not as God, but as an attribute of the one God, namely as a dispenser of primitive or initial powers for the purpose of human procreation. And in almost every ancient religion, these powers are attributed to Mars under various names. The color of Mars is said to be red, not only because the planet appears red, as seen from the Earth, or because of any peculiar red formations upon the planet, or because connected with blood shed, but because the chief function of Mars is the focusing of the life force into individualized expression through generation. Incidentally, Mars is called the god of war, but far more generally the lord of birth and death, also of generation and destruction. The esoteric force deified in Mars is the primal principle of life being differentiated into its opposite poles for the purpose of procreation. This is always associated with both water and blood, but the water only in sense. The water is the blood of the earth, or the carrier of the universal life force to nature. And as the blood carries the individualized physical life force, so the color red in the spectrum carries the vital life principle to all the other color rays. And as the color rays manifest in a circle or spiral rather than one above the other, so in each ascending cycle, the red glows lighter and brighter until it becomes a beautiful rose pink or spiritual life force of divine love. While water is the blood of nature, blood in man and animals is water plus fire. The lower forms of life having little or no red blood, fish, reptiles, have little of the life fire, hence are called cold-blooded, as they do not maintain a continuous body temperature, but take on the temperature of their surroundings. Hence, Mars rules blood and water in the sense that it is through the guiding hierarchies and forces of that planet that the fleshly bodies of human souls inhabiting the earth are produced and also reproduced and maintained in health and vigor. Therefore, while Mars is the god of war in one sense and is properly associated with the shedding of blood, yet the shedding of blood referred to is primarily that which is shed in connection with functions of generation. The real warfare of Mars is not inciting the nations of mankind to war, but the overcoming of the natural resistance of the soul to the descent into physical generation and all that it entails. Generation is lifted up into regeneration, and the experiences garnered into wisdom and power. Mars is represented as having been born without a mother, one way of expressing the important esoteric truth that it is only the potential forces of generation that come to us from Mars, or we might say generation of potentiality, the sexes were separated and actually expressed on Earth in separated sexes. While from Venus is sent to the Earth the potential seed thought of a perfect and purified union of the sexes and the guiding force to bring it into actuality. On the other hand, the same idea is conveyed by Ovid when he states that Mars was born of his mother Juno without a father. I'm going to put a slight little pause here, because in reconstructing reality, it's based off of Venus. And in the story, the male and the female aspect merge together to become androgynous, to view and to be in totality a whole. When they're separated by female and male aspects, they're not whole. They're separated, individuated as one or the other. And on Venus, they come together, they merge together because they're one. Go read those books, and you'll find out more about that sexy Marsness. Back to the book. In the zodiac, Mars is given the place of strength in the first decanate of the sign Aries, the Ram. I have Mars. Fun times! In which the sun is exalted. He is also given the place of death in Scorpio, in which sign the task is given to the soul to purify, control, and uplift all the functions of generation. This is represented in the myth in which Scorpio slays Orion. Now in mythology, Orion was an intrepid hunter of enormous size, the same personage as Minotaur or Nimrod, and symbolizes the lure and uncontrolled aspect of sex. Mars is called Rama in Egypt, where the skin of a ram, Aries the ram, covered the Holy of Holies in the temples, a symbol continued by the Hebrews after leaving Egypt by covering their Ark of the Covenant with a ram's skin. From these few references, the functions of Mars are plainly indicated. The planetary ruler of Mars is closely connected with Venus. From Mars comes the force and strength and the courage by which man can learn the hard lessons and endure the suffering of sex. From Venus comes the loving, tender care and guidance and promise of ultimate victory. And both planets are so closely associated with Earth and its inhabitants that in one sense, they may be called the spiritual parents of the Earth. In an ancient myth, the mother of the sun, under the name Semiel, was made to ascend her throne and preside as a balancer and harmonizer between the planets Mars and Venus, where she was henceforth worshipped under the name the Queen of the World. And it is from this very ancient idea, because it embodies a vital truth, that most the Virgin Mothers found in all religions are taken, whether called Divine Mother or Queen of Heaven, whether Isis in Egypt, Sakti in India, Semiel in Rome, or Mary in Jerusalem. The meaning is quite plain, for Mars and Venus are the sources of the forces which are finally manifested as the separate sexes in humanity, and will ultimately bring about the perfect balance of the two when in its fullness the promise shall be fulfilled. Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. These planets are the guardians of the great test of sex, and only as love, the Divine Mother, is permitted to dwell as a balancer and harmonizer between the two opposite expressions, can the great lesson yield all its powers and fruits. That mystery personage known in the Bible as Melchizedek, was in reality an avataric manifestation of the planetary ruler of Mars to the early races, although then recognized as the Prince of Peace, Salem, instead of the god of war. And in very truth, if we are to receive the mystical bread and wine from Melchizedek, that exalted priest of the Most High God, then like Abram, we must arm our 318 trained servants born in our house, the forces of the zodiac 3 + 1 + 8 = 12, which we have mastered and brought forth in our personality, and use them to conquer our enemies, the lower appetites and passions, which have possessed our land, and bring back all the goods, or rescue the misdirected good and its women, or its power to bring forth. And when this has been accomplished, we must not be puffed up over our victory, but must await the coming of our high priest in the valley of humanity, or we can receive the body and blood of the cosmic Christ, shed for us from the beginning, even as the later avatar Jesus, a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, offers the same mystic bread and wine that Melchizedek offered Abram to those disciples who meet him in the mystical upper chamber, saying, "Take, eat, this is my body." Interesting there. "This is my blood of the New Testament. Drink ye all of it. For it is through the outpouring of the mystical blood of Mars that man reached the great test of generation, and only as we eat and drink with love and thanksgiving, or correlate with and assimilate it, can we pass its test and be blessed as conquerors. It will thus be seen that among the early races, when mankind was childlike and was taught face to face by the great masters of wisdom, even by the planetary deities themselves, the relation that Mars bore to this earth was well known, as the Bible narratives so plainly indicate. For each of the 7 sacred planets gives to the earth, the latest born of this system, a special vibration or force to help on the evolution of both the planet and its humanity. Thus, Jupiter sends us the force of judicial deliberation, which gradually evolves us toward omnipotence. Saturn is the tester, the initiator. Mars, the giver of strength, courage, and fortitude. Mercury gives that clear, intuitive reasoning, whose complete development gives omniscience. Venus gives love and the ability to endure, also understanding, while the sun gives spiritual illumination, also the blessings of healing. Among the Roman, Mars was regarded as most important deity after Jupiter. That Mars was not considered merely as a god of war, even among the warlike nation, is shown in many ways. For the month of March, when the forces of generation are gathering in the earth preparatory to bringing forth anew in spring, was held as sacred and named after Mars, especially the Ides of March. Also, special ceremonies were performed to Mars during the months from March to October. While the earth is generating and producing her increase, until the reign of Augustus, there were only 2 temples at Rome dedicated to Mars, one in the Campus Martius, or Field of Mars, the exercising and reviewing place of the army, the other outside of Porta Carpena, the gate through which the army marched on its campaign in the south. But in the heart of the city, there was a sanctorium of Mars in the Regula, originally the king's house, where the sacred spears and shields of Mars were kept. Should war be declared during a sacred ceremony, these spears were taken out and shaken, and the protection and help of Mars invoked with the cry, "Mars Viglia." Mars, wake up! If by any chance these spears were shaken without human hands, it was looked upon as a dire omen and called for expiation. For in the Sanctorium, the god Mars was supposed to dwell in a spiritual sense. From March to October, the sacred spears and shields were carried through the city in a procession on 3 separate occasions, preceded by dancing priests, flower girls, etc. But in October, when the generation and bringing forth had ceased in nature, there was a solemn ceremony at which they were purified and blessed and put away for the winter, thus showing that Mars was primarily connected with generation and reproduction, both in nature and in man, and only later secondary with war. This conception of Mars has survived and is so commonly known even today that in a recent newspaper article, it was stated that because of the conjunction of Mars and Venus on January 5th, and Mars passing through Pisces and coming into conjunction with the new moon on January 23rd, 1921, mean but one thing: they constitute what is known as a fruitful zodiac. Within the next 6 years, the birth of a single child will be an exception to the rule. We are to prepare for the arrival of a harvest of twin and triplets. While we cannot endorse this in its fullest, yet this is most remarkable prediction to be founded in a newspaper from at the beginning of every age, where there are hosts of souls whose work and karma connect with them, the new age, and who should incarnate at this time, yet who have had to wait perhaps hundreds of years for the proper opportunity to incarnate under conditions in which they can accomplish their mission. Hence, many may incarnate as twins. And I hate to say this, but we're here now because Viking has twins, and I have a set of twins. There's a lot of sets of twins in my school. I mean, it's my grandmother is no, she's not a twin. My great uncle was a twin and born in that time period of 1921. Interesting. Something to dwell upon. It is quite natural that at the present point in man's evolution, his mind should turn to a study of the planet Mars. This is not only because it is the planet next outside the Earth, being the 4th in distance from the sun, nor because in opposition it is brighter than at first magnitude star, and by its position the most favorably situated of all the planets for observation from the Earth, but because of its close mystical relationship and association with the Earth at this particular time. For Mars is looked upon as the spiritual father of the Earth, and as a father, it has manifested its creative power on Earth, while the mother force of Venus has not yet been able to find adequate expression. This is one reason why in many religions we find more reference to the aspect of God as a father than as a mother. But as we have now entered the sign of Aquarius, or the woman's age, the father may be said to be growing old. Mars is now drawing to the close of its last round, while Venus is only coming into its fullness of her last round, and must withdraw from active work, and that which has impregnated and implanted in the earth and its humanity must be brought forth by the great mother force of Venus. And we're going to continue on because this continues. But just a few comments here. We're not in the age of Aquarius just yet. And if we are, we just entered it. And this was written in the early 1900s, 1920s. So put that into perspective, that they were thinking this stuff was happening in their time frame when it's really now happening in ours. For reals. For real. Mars concluded, quote, "Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, from the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, there shall not be any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. I will be there. I will be with thee. Sorry. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Be strong and of a good courage. For until these people shall thou divide for an inheritance the land, which I swear unto their fathers to give them. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law. Joshua. One of the many evidences that the Bible is truly an inspired book, and like all other sacred scriptures, written allegorically, that its full meaning might be revealed only to those who are ardently desire truth, that they seek it behind the veil, is the fact that an important esoteric teaching as to the relation of Mars and Venus to the Earth in their aspects as progenitors and guardians is symbolized in the story of the Ark of the Covenant, as well as the story of Noah and his ark, in which he is represented as preserving the races of mankind to repeople the earth after the deluge. That the force of Mars has always been primarily connected with generation and reproduction, and only secondarily with war, is further evidenced by the fact that among the ancients we find the spirit of Mars represented as gathering the germs of all living things necessary to repeople the earth into an ark, the Arga of the mysteries. Among the Egyptians, it was called the Sista Mystica, or Ark of Mystery. It was also used as a sacred chalice in the worship of Astri, the Syrian Venus, and in other forms of worship in which the container of the feminine reproductive power is symbolized in general. The ark represented both Venus and the womb of nature, in which the germs of all manifestation were pictured as floating upon the waters of the great abyss during the interval between two periods of manifestation until fructified by the spirit of Mars. The nave, from the Latin navis, the ship or ark, in Christian churches has the same symbology, for it contains the altar on which are focused all the mystical potencies of the religion necessary for the purification and regeneration of its followers. This was also symbolized by the Ark of the Covenant, which again was a container of the forces of generation represented by Aaron's blooming rod, symbolizing the regeneration of nature, the two tablets of the law, the masculine and feminine expressions of the law, and the Omer of manna, the sustaining power of the one life. The meaning of the Ark of the Covenant is indicated by its construction. It was built of shittim wood, acacia, which focused the astral forces and was covered with pure gold, symbol of the spirit. Around the top was a golden rim or crown, and upon this crown were the cherubim, facing each other with their wings spread in such a manner as from a perfect yoni, the symbol of the feminine reproductive power. The cherubim represent Mars and Venus, and the covenant was the man, is that while humanity is learning the great lesson of separated sexes, these two expressions of divinity, the strength and courage of Mars and the love and understanding of Venus, will ever watch and guard mankind, and that which is brought forth from their purified use of the creative forces shall be blessed of God. This interpretation of the ark is further emphasized by the fact that the four mystic letters of Jehovah's name, IHVH, or Yad-He Vad-He, are carved upon it. Yad meaning the membrum, virile, he, the womb, vow, a hook or a nail, and second he, an opening, the whole forming the perfect bisexual emblem, the male and female symbol. The Arga, or Ark, was therefore a general and universal symbol and was worshipped as the Sanctum Sanctorum, or the center in which the forces of Mars and Venus are focused upon Earth. Remember that the force which comes from each planet is a particular or specialized aspect of one God. And knowing that humanity must pass through the experience of the separated sexes, if it was to become as one of us, knowing good and evil, God provided and focused upon the earth just the forces needed to carry us through this experience. If we will but utilize them aright. Damn. It's everything I say all the time. Validated. Yet, alas, the force of Mars is degraded and regraded merely as the instigator of war, is made a malign planet, catering to man's lowest passions and appetites. Saturn, the divine tester and guardian, who would not that any perish, who stands ever near to say to man, stand and prove all things, and hold fast to that which is good, lest ye be lost in the abyss of ignorance, is called the enemy, the tempter, and the devil, while Venus, the giver of divine love, the tender watcher in the night, who ever whispers hope, and amid the deepest degradation, and sorrow, is often worshipped with lascivious rites and called the mother of harlots. So low have our conceptions of these individualized manifestations of the divine fallen through materialistic and perverted interpretation. And because the church is apt to look upon all recognition of these great star angels as idolatry instead of manifested aspects of the one God. There's a lot of truth to that. Having recognized and fully realized that 7 sacred planets, or more correctly speaking, the angels, spirits, or rulers of those planets, are each but differentiated and individualized expressions of the sevenfold Godhead, the Elohim, we are ready to study, understand, and appreciate something of their mysteries, potencies, and powers. In a similar way, if our spiritual eyes were open to see our finer bodies, we would see that each characteristic or each expression of force makes a definite light or color or even evil or a dark streak in our aura, yet all the colors are but expressions of one individual. Similarly, the universe may be regarded as the aura of God, and every star and planet as manifesting a special trait or aspect of God, yet all necessary for his perfect expression in matter. Everything I've been saying, and I'm not surprised by them. They have validated so many things that I have said in my past. Holy crapola. During the present chaotic conditions upon Earth, an understanding of the force of Mars is greatly needed, for it brings strength, courage, and fortitude, and also the disintegration of that which is evil, to such an extent that if the force were concentrated upon the Earth before it was ready to respond to its vibration, the Earth would be volatilized in an instant. The force is called malign and evil by some, just as an untutored savage might call electricity an evil force and seek to propagate it. Yet when man is ready consciously to correlate with and regulate this force, he can use it to perform all manner of labor, for it belongs to a lower octave of the dynamospheric force. The dynamospheric force comes from all the planets, but only when man has learned to correlate with the forces of Mars and Venus, and has so advanced that he can add to these the radiant energy of his purified will, can he consciously and safely direct and utilize this force. All right. If it were possible to shut off all the other planetary forces and focus the Martian force, it'd be used to bore a tunnel clear through the Earth. We are told that the masters have constructed wonderful tunnels under continents and oceans through the help of the elementals, but the elementals and forces so used were not of Earth but of Mars. Engineers say that they could tunnel through the Earth even now if they could remove the debris of the greater depths were reached, but with the use of Martian force, there would be no debris to be taken out, but the sides of the tunnels would be compressed and fused, and whatever resisted would be volatilized, and the tunnel, when completed, would endure as long as the planet itself. By the use of this force of the great centers of the earth can be connected with the time when the time comes. For all your tunnel people out there, you dumb people, dumbs, not actual dumb people. There's a woman that I know who has a child whose reincarnation is from Mars. Child identifies as Martian. If we look back into galactic history and we look at Meldick, went bye-bye. Mars also had thriving life, and a lot of us came from Mars before we came here. The fall of other civilizations, Lemuria, Mu, Atlantis, Tartaria, these tunnels were created by our other selves, the Martian selves. And like I keep telling people, not all of them are evil. Not all of them are used for heinous things. They were taken over, unfortunately, by some heinous evil people, but that's still God doing its thing. And like it set up earlier, you have to see beyond it. But we're still stuck in the ego and still stuck in concepts that, yeah. Very interesting, though. Very highly interesting. The force of Mars is much a tremendous force of attraction, desire, that if Mars stood alone in the heavens without the influence of the other planets, the power of attraction would be so great that all the planets would be drawn to it as a center. But the other planetary forces intervene and balance it. Saturn repels Venus, modulates. Neptune counteracts, Uranus intensifies. Jupiter holds in balance, and so on, even to the most distant star. If we were not for these counterbalancing forces, we would find ourselves on Mars quicker than we could think. For the purified desire principle, so powerfully manifested on the planet, would draw us to it. It is through correlation with the Martial-Venus force that communication must someday be established between the Earth and Mars. We're there already. For ages, Mars have been trying to communicate with the Earth other than psychically and subjectively, but the Earth has not as yet manifested sufficient stabilized harmony for it to respond. In other words, the Earth is not clearly sounding her own true key note. If she were sounding her note perfectly and harmoniously, she's on her way, it would be easy to catch the note of any other planet, just as when a person is singing in perfect tune in a chorus, he has no difficulty in correlating with the rest. But if out of tune or rhythm, he may think all the rest are wrong and find it impossible to harmonize with them. Hence, when Mars sends us his force, they are only partially received and utilized and are greatly dissipated. If we could concentrate upon and sound the note of Mars so clearly that it would cut through the other vibrations, we would have a direct channel of communication. Off-site black ops. Humanity is again passing over the point in the spiral of evolution, which was symbolized by Noah and his ark. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. That the end of all flesh is come is not to be taken literally, is shown by the fact that the Lord directed Noah to build an ark to preserve the seeds of the future great race. Fifth, in its symbolic meaning, an ark of safety must once more be built in humanity through correlation with the force of Mars and the consequent purification of the blood of the race, through which the salvation of both man and the earth must come. And since these are the forces given man with which to multiply and repeople the earth, when perverted, they people the earth with evil, vileness, and disease, as is the condition so prevalent today. Nearly all chronic diseases, tuberculosis, cancers, tumors, arthritis, deformins, as well as neurosis, hysteria, neurasthenia, are now considered by certain advanced scientists as developing only in the presence of blood tainted, created by the perversions of creative forces, and either commonly inherited or widely acquired in this life. Even though nearly 1/3 of the cases acquired their taint is this life, quite innocently and unknowingly, nevertheless, they are karmically connected with it from former incarnations. And since it is through the blood that certain higher forces contact the body, if the blood is tainted with the toxins of perverted sex forces, it is impossible to contact certain spiritually creative forces from the higher realms. Pause. That's true back then, but not now, because we are all purging and going to higher states of consciousness, and we are merging our higher self and ego into this body. So things are purging. Some people are like, I'm one of those tainted people. Tainted, guilty as charged. But you change your mind, it gets better. There are some physical things that need to physically be fixed. But when it comes to the belief of disease and healing, if you feed into it and you're feeding yourself lower vibratory states, you're going to perpetually be sick. If you are feeding in love and light, yeah, you're going to have illness and sickness. That's a 3D construct. But it passes, your body rebounds. Some stuff you can't. But we're purging all of that now. But that purge takes a long time, so be patient. I know I am. The deluge took place toward the close of the Atlantean period, while that which is symbolized by the building of the ark, the separation of those who listened to and followed the divine law from among those who clung to the common practices of black magic, required the 6 and 7 subraces to accomplish, during which time there were many minor cataclysms. But the final one, all who followed the divine teachers were led in safety to colonies in Egypt, Babylonia, and even in Central Asia. In other words, it required most of the 6 and 7 subraces for Noah to preach his teachings, educate, prepare, and call forth his faithful children, although the biblical account makes it seem but a short time. The command has once more been given to man to build an ark which can float on the turbulent sea of humanity, and which can and shall contain the potencies of the purified creative forces given to mankind from Mars, to uplift the race, to recreate our bodies, and regenerate the planet. Ascension. Those who are ready to listen are metaphorically standing on the verge of Jordan, as indicated in our text, waiting for their Joshua to bid them cross over and enter the promised land. To them comes the promise, verily, every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you. This means all things in the cosmogony of life with which we can correlate. All these has the Lord of life already given us to process. We have but to enter in and partake of them from the lessons and blessings followed in the wilderness of life through which we are now passing from Lebanon, the astral world, and from the powers contained in the great river Euphrates, or a generative force from Mars. But man cannot live and accomplish these things for himself alone, for no individual can rise high enough to utilize these forces to fulfill the destiny of the race in any large measure until a large proportion of advanced souls have reached this point in correlating with Mars. Where I've been at. Hi. Hi, many of you. Hi. Hi. We're waiting for humanity because even though I can individually raise my frequency up to 5D and experience my light body and go flying high in the spaceship above, I am still a 3D human soul body stuck here trying to help humanity manifest in mass something better. But I can do it individually for myself, but that doesn't change everybody else around me that is still creating the simulation in which my body is stuck in. Hi, many of you, we know where we are. It fucking sucks. Hi. They're saying what I've been saying. As much as you can manifest your outside world, it's collectively that is when the change happens, because when each of us hits a frequency, we're so spread apart, we're only getting glimpses into what we are trying to manifest. That's already there for us. We just have to meet the energy. But forever, every paradigm is forever shifting into different dimensional spaces and frequencies. So we have to get onto a collective harmonized note of and shift the bitch. But that ain't gonna happen anytime soon. And I will say this. As a humanity, we have passed many, many, many numerous tests that has advanced and raised us to where we are now. We wouldn't be here consciously, awakened, aware, if we didn't pass those steps as a collective. So kudos to everybody, because we actually helped shift the shit. But with saying that, we're in the hardest trials of tribulations right now with these tests that humanity is not really necessarily passing. Because let's face it, shit's hard. And we've been deceived already a few times in humanity. We're being deceived again. I just listened to a Bashar. I know, side note, away from the book. I listened to a Bashar that was just dropped my jaw. Now, are we being deceived? I'm not going to express or share what that is, because I'm not trying to get too political. I have one political flag in my background that a lot of people are like, but whatever. Are you being deceived? Are we all being deceived? Because I think we might be. Because my evidence is showing me yes. And not to say that it's a wrong thing, but we all have to take accountability for what we feed our energy into. And right now, a lot of people are feeding into, with the best intentions, things I feel that might be leading you astray. This is all tests, and it's okay if you're led astray. But let's be really honest. Why many of you are here is to free think, to be critically thinking outside of the third dimensional bullshit, fourth dimensional bullshit. That is detaching your emotional states to people, places, and things, and it means even your biases. This is ego death. And when you can harmonize Mars energy, Aries and Scorpio, woo, we take it for the team. when you combine that with Venus and balance them out, which a lot of us are trying to balance out, are not just ourselves with masculine and feminine energies, but we're trying to do that planetary wise, dimensional wise. We need to do way better. You got to take the biases of your party agenda, your alliances to things, and shove them. And why I'm saying that is because you need to detach materially and understand a greater and bigger picture. Because nobody's coming in on a white horse to come and save you. God is in all of us, and it takes all of us to create the future that we want, and unbiasedly doing so, because everybody's perspective and experience is different and ranges between 0 to 1,000,000. And each of those people are in our paradigm. So we need to come together and unify as in this current state of existence to get things moving forward into the beautiful state that many of us are seeing individually. But in order for that to happen, things need to be balanced. And right now, everything is out of whack to show us what is actually going on. Does that mean that it's easy? Absolutely effing not. And trust me, I'm thankfully gray for a damn reason with all the stress. Yesterday, my eye was twitching so bad. Even doing the reading yesterday, my eye was like, and it's hard to read when my eyes fluttering. It's not the easiest time, guys, but we chose this time because we were the game changers, and we just need to step further into that energy. Because if this was written back then and it's talking about now, holy effing shit. We have a lot of work in front of us, and we can't ignore it anymore. Many students say, therefore, all who earnestly desire to help on the fulfillment of man's destiny must first purify themselves, then work together for the purification of the whole of mankind. This is why a lot of us were tasked to go into the dark night of the soul. Why a lot of us are first going through the spiritual experiences and upgrades that are heavy. Why you might be one. I get a lot of people that tell me like very few people, I shouldn't say nobody, very few people can correlate with what I'm saying, experiencing, or feeling. And I can say the same thing for myself. I don't know too many people that has the experience, the understanding, the knowing, and can put it verbally into verbiage for it to be given out to humanity. And a lot of the things that I say, that I project out into the ether, to the universe, to people, they're really very difficult concepts to let go of in order to move forward. No one wants to hear that there's no good and evil because you're experiencing it in 3D form. There goes my eye, I jinxed it. Damn it. Oh. We're experiencing duality and polarity here. But this is not a place or a state of being that we want to continue in. This is the harder part of understanding the truth, that once you see beyond good and evil and you go into neutrality and you see it for what it is, your reaction to it should no longer feed either or paradigm manifesting. It should be God's manifestation. What the true essence of what we are here for should come through, not picking a side. God's all things. That's the hard part. We were born in separation and limitation, and now it's seeing past all of that. That's the hard aspect of understanding all these concepts. Once you enter, walk it, emote it, and understand what you are, the easier the forgiveness, the letting go, the detachment will be. No one wants to leave their things behind because we don't know any other thing but what we have. But once you can see yourself in spirit, once you see your light body, there is way more than you have than you even know. So once you can grasp those concepts and that higher ended truth that hurts, you'll be better off and understand more of what I'm saying. And it's not to be offensive, it's not to hurt anybody's feelings. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to teach. I'm a teacher. But to understand soul contracts, and everybody has one, and you're just shifting higher timelines. You're not ripping up a contract, you're ripping up a paradigm that no longer serves you to move into a higher and better. And there is no end to higher and better because we're shifting dimensionally in nanoseconds. That's really it. You can listen to so many channeled messages, and until you really embody the energy, you're not going to get the upgrades. You're not going to understand. You understand the first layer of information that is given, but when you really deep down go in and unravel a lot of what is being said, even if it's said simplistically, your world expands, and it gets harder and harder to swallow the truths. I've been there, and it sucks, but I choose to move forward and not go backwards. And I hope a lot of you are there at that point where you're kind of done and you're seeing the ping pong match of good and evil being played out and knowing that neither one is going to resolve the problems. As much as good might be light, so everything here was inverted. Think about all the things that these guys have been saying. Allegorically, is Baphomet really evil? Even the girl that does the rods, they're saying, no, you're misinterpreting what the true meaning of things are because we've been deluded by program and narratives. When you strip it all away and actually see things for, as they're talking about the 7 planets, and people are like, well, that's Satan shit. Well, Satan is an illusion that you made. Congratulations. Anywho, sorry, going off a tangent. Many students say that they do not wish to unite with others in any group or movement, preferring to develop themselves and silently send out their best thoughts for the good of all. Yet, a uniting of forces and influence by those of advanced thought and development is necessary if needed ideas are to be widely promulgated among mankind. Even those who have reached the highest stage of mastery possible on earth have to remain in the high realms and work for its purification and man's emancipation, and must suffer with both until man has reached a point of cooperation in the great work of generation. While those who have made even considerable progress in self-mastery must incarnate again and again as helpers and teachers, that's many of us, of the race, until they too are ready to unite and work in cooperation with others for the purification and enlightenment of a generation of the race. And that ends this section. Next section is the spiritual birth, and we'll wait for next time to read that one. We're at this crux right now. If Brian Scott did a live with Daniel Scranton and 2 other people who are also channelers, and listening to them channel and the different entities that they channel, the messaging is just about the same, different language, maybe different aspects of how it's being said, but things are sounding the same. The information that I channel is the same. Until humanity can get itself out of this narrative, program steered agenda shit and really come into the heart of yourself, we're going to continuously see all this shit happen. And yeah, it's supposed to play out how it's playing out to help steer people to, ah, but are you being fooled because you think your perception and your truth is right? Your biases, your side of the tracks is better than the other side because you're on that train and you're not getting off because here is all the drops and here's all the information and here's this and that. But when you see it as a larger totality of source working itself through both paradigms and all things, is where the true test of understanding what's actually happening at your footstep. You step forward and the threshold will open before you. You step back, the door is still remaining there. Where are you going to walk? It's a hard truth to know that you might be being steered in the wrong direction and that there's a lot of people gaining from your lack of wanting to do your own inner work. It's not the lack of going and doing the research. It's the work on yourself that no one tells you to do in certain movements. And that's on both sides, not on one side. But there's one side in particular that shields spiritual information from coming out. They give you enough, or they kind of deter you into different directions, like the solar flash. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I think it will, but for experience purposes, will be experienced differently from everybody. And that's if that's the paradigm you signed up to have experience in. It's hard to understand the layering of how this reality really works. But when you do the work inside yourself to understand what you are in a bigger aspect, in a bigger totality, that you are source, that source dwells within you, there's nothing lacking inside of you. It's just meeting the energy on the outside world that meets your toroidal and your auric field to start making people see it. And I might be doing a shitty job at my job, at why I'm here, why I'm back. And I know that's why I've incarnated a lot, is to help humanity. And I've been a little shrill of an ignored little ant in a molehill, but I still hold a purpose and I'm going to continue doing it until such a time that there's more acknowledgement in understanding that, sorry to say, what I thought I believed in is now fading out of my existence. The movement that I once held very dear and close to my heart, that I thought was something that I aligned with, is very much now what I'm not aligned with. And it's not because I align with the other side. I don't either. No side I align with, because it's not right for where we're moving into. It's not correct. It is not something that I want in my future paradigm, is the back and forth duality and dualistic shit. It's not something that humans need to be dealing with anymore. But it's going to take a very long time for us to realize that, and hopefully sooner than later. But I stopped aligning with a lot of things. I align with my own self and my heart, not because I'm not a service to others. It's because you, just like what happened in just with the hurricane and the dam failure and the floods, I'm not going around asking people for their party affiliation, their last names. If a man is wearing a bra under their shirt, if you're a lesbian or gay, I don't care. You're human and I'm helping you. That, at the crux at the end of the day, is what is important. Sorry, not sorry. Don't care if you have purple hair. I miss my purple hair, by the way. I don't care if you're a Satanist. I don't care if you're X, Y, and Z. In the face of a tragedy, of a catastrophe, are you really going to ask people what the hell they are, or if that is where you're not helping them or not? What kind of human are you? Just saying. You don't know if that person's a he. You don't know if that person did anything wrong. In the moment of when a catastrophe happens, are you really thinking of those things? Is that how shallow you are? Are you worried about everything else? I wouldn't be. And if you could take that understanding and apply it outside of a catastrophe, that's really where we all need to be. It's all God expressing itself through different people, different mechanisms, different labels, different this, different that. You don't need to agree with it. That's something I want to be flat out. You do not need to be in agreement with how someone else lives their life. Period. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it either. But when we're all here trying to manifest and bring forward the new world, how could we do that? They need to be included, and you're excluding them by canceling them out, just like they cancel us out. It's a back and forth. When we can get out of this fighting against each other for stupid, shallow fucking labeling bullcrap and come and meet in the middle, well, then everybody actually see the biggest truth of it all. It's all God experiencing itself. So why are you hating on that? And your judge, what you think something outside of yourself judges, it's yourself judging yourself when you're up there. Sorry, not sorry. That for me is absolute. You're judging yourself because they're going to tell you what you missed and what you didn't miss. You be the judge of your own self. Stop judging other people. And when it comes to humanity, that includes everything. That's not just your particular party or your people. That includes everybody, the ones you hate, deepest most. What is inside of you that you haven't shed yet, that you still hold animosity and hate? And yes, when things happen physically to you, it's very hard to detach. It's extremely hard because you're still experiencing 3D, which is going to continuously play out until your time is up. Or whenever you hit the frequency where you're moving up consciously, and that's what you wrote in for yourself. So this is a fantastic chapter. Validates me up and down. Love, love, love them. And guys, I'm just like tired of having to sugarcoat shit and sparkle farts and unicorns, because at this point, I know where I'm going. And I would love a lot of people to come with me. But in order for that to happen, you got to drop a lot and detach from a lot. And a lot of people are not ready for that detachment yet. And that's okay. It will in its time. So thank you guys for being on this crazy shit show journey with me. I only say that in love and in sarcasm because honestly, I'm going through hellish times. I don't know how my bills are going to get paid. I'm working. I've been working. I'm looking for opportunities. I'm putting myself out there again, getting my feelers going on, and I'm still just like, okay, when will the right door open? When will the right door open? I have faith in the universe. And at the same time, like, I'm still in linear time construct. So it's like a damned if I do and a damned if I don't. And then I'm an Aries. I need everything now. I'm very patient. Um, I mean, through the suffering is a lot of wisdom and learning. Great. Check. Just a lot of us are tired and in physical pain. And I want this more for everybody who is in my situation. And I wasn't really not in a bad situation. You know, I'm very thankful and blessed for all the things that I have and have acquired my whole life, and the things I detached from and gave up to give to others. But a lot of us still need a lot of work. And I know that all of you can do it. And that's why a lot of us are here. And that's why I don't have many people on my channel, is because there's very few that are willing to even explore the very uncomfortable notion that you might be duped on both sides. Not any side is good for you. You have to find which paradigm suits you the most. And I can't answer that for you. You have to answer it for yourself. So, sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within. Be the physical shelters for somebody today. Be the lighthouse. Seed your truths. And I'm going to put this out here. If you are affected by the hurricane, the dam failure, the flooding, the events that just happened, because it's all caused by one event and just happened differently in different states. If you are affected, please let me know. If you're in a safer area where there is postal service happening, if UPS is running, there are a lot of us that are willing to, if there is a list of what you need, if you're individually needing something, listen, I can't financially help anybody, but I have clothes, I have things that I can send to people. Okay, I don't have food, sorry, I'm just barely eating myself, but I have stuff that if you need, I can send. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who watch me that are more than happy to send somebody help through the mail or through post office. Fortunately, getting trucks and people to move down, get that stuff down there is difficult. There's a lot of people who care, and I definitely am one of them. Any natural disaster, I've been through a couple of them in my lifetime, and it's always nice to know that there are people looking out for you. So if you are affected in any way and need assistance, and it's stuff that you put out in the comments and someone sees it, oh, you need toilet paper, or you need socks, or I need X amount of clothes at this size, we can see if we can get some donations sent to you personally via the post office, UPS, or however other methods that are working. Because I know there's a lot of situations right now that aren't even, oh, there's things not aware, everything is underwater, so there is no post office anymore. So just keep that in mind, guys. And my pure love, energy, and light goes out to everybody who is affected. Even if you just lost power and you're inconvenienced, my heart goes out to you, because that stuff is traumatizing and it is trauma. Now it's to purge, release, and let go energy that needs to happen. And for all of those who lost their lives, may we see you in spirit. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Thank you for your support. And please make sure that if you are in need, please write it in the comments so we can try to figure something out for you. And that goes to anybody in any natural disaster or something that happens. So thank you guys. Have a great one. Bye for now.